Welcome to the Bootstrap Founder. Tony Dinh is a prolific indie hacker, and I'm talking to him today. I've been following Tony's journey building and designing products in public on Twitter for years now, and that's what I wanted to talk to him about today. Indie hacking in public. We dive into how he creates visually stunning products and his approach to pricing and revenue models. You'll find out how he navigated the recent Twitter API price increase and then ultimately sold his popular browser extension like magic to Hype Fury for a fraction of what he could sold it at a few months ago. The indie hacker life is one of ups and downs, and Tony is sharing it all with you today, right here. Before we dive into our chat, just a quick thank you to our sponsor, Acquire.com. More on that later. Here is Tony. You've become one of the most interesting indie hackers to follow on Twitter, at least when I'm concerned. I love following you. And I think you're taking building in public to the next level. And so far, I've watched you build 4 different products in public on Twitter. And I think that's incredibly impressive. And even better, I think your products are incredibly well designed. So you're not just building awesome stuff, you're also designing it so well. And most indie hackers, they don't build good looking products. They're not good at design at all. So how did you learn to create such visually stunning products? Where does this come from?
Well, first of all, thank you for the kind word. I really don't think I deserve all that. And secondly, I think most of the indie hackers I know on Twitter are very good at design. You look at Locksnack and the product SizeGPT by Bhanu. Hope I pronounced his name right. And product by Phúc Trân. Everywhere I see, the indie hackers usually have a very good sense of design, and they actually do the designs by themselves very well. So I kind of feel like I'm only somewhere in the middle. So I'm not sure if the very good design compliment is fit for me, but
that's nice deflection right there. I think you're really good at it because I think I'm not good at it at all. I use Tailwind to get like a basic level, of some kind of design. But after that, if I were to like build a custom component, it would look really bad. And I'm using several of your products. I'm like Blackmagic, and we can talk about the whole journey and the acquisition in a bit. But I use that tool, and it's part of my Twitter process, obviously, right? I use it every day on Twitter, and I've been using it most recently for my Twitter teardowns, where I look into other people's accounts and I tell them how to build a better Twitter profile. And it's just so good. Like I look at it and it has the pie chart for the things that they do and the timeline, and it's also visually clear. And I think that clarity in how to present data, that's kind of what I mean with design. Not just the beauty of the product, but your clear visual representation of data. And you have that in all of your products. So that's what I'm saying. Do you put some extra effort into this to make it visually very clear?
It's actually a little bit difficult for me to tell exactly how I am that good at design, but actually not that good. But okay, the one trick that I always use is that I always try to use as much built-in components as possible. As you already mentioned, you use Tailwind, right? So I bought the Tailwind components library and just use that as much as I can. So not a lot of components I use in my apps are like custom built. And about the charts, I think mostly I just use whatever deliver in the library itself. And sometimes I have to tweak a little bit about the spacing issue. But other than that, the only trick that I use is just stick with a template or stick with a component library. And usually it will come with a good design. But it's not fair to not mention that I also have a little bit of skills in Photoshop in the early stage of my career. So and also I used to work as a front-end engineer, and I had to work with a lot of designers building HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? And back then they were very strict about how you implement the design into the front-end code. So they have a very good designer, so they don't want to waste the money when you don't translate the design into something like 100% pixel to pixel perfect, right? So I guess over the years I just pick up like what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, how is a good spacing, and some other common sense around design. So I get that somehow get in me and help me with design some custom components when I need to. And then yeah, could be a little bit disappointed answer, but I
No,
guess
not at
there's just
all.
a lot of
I think
exposure train the design skill in me.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that is the answer, right? The answer is that you've done all of this before and you had good designers to show you what good design looks
Yeah.
like. Not
Yeah.
everybody has this. If you come from a technical, more background, right? You're building database stuff, or you're just a DevOps engineer and you want to build something like a tool for other DevOps engineers. You only know what, I don't know, like Jenkins looks like, right? This
Yeah.
software that looks like it's from the 80s, and you don't have the kind of sense of what it could look like if it was well designed. That brings me to a question I asked on Twitter just a couple days ago, before this is being recorded, obviously, who had a question for you, because you're so big on Twitter now with 90,000 followers, which is crazy, right? And people asked a couple of questions. One was by Catalin Pet, and he asked, so how long you've been a software engineer before you went into indie hacking as a business building effort? And it sounds like you've been doing this for a while, right? So what's your story in terms of, how this came to be, and when did you choose to start indie hacking for money?
Right. I've been a software developer for 7 years. So 7 years working professionally for companies, right? But when I started writing code, I was like 15, and writing code in high school already. And I was very like interested in computers and coding in general. Back then, I was writing application with Visual Basic 6 in Windows applications, and I was having a lot of fun. So when I graduated and graduated from my engineering school, life just get in the way. It just I just go with the flow, and just graduated, get a job, get a high paying job, and learn everything about the industry, that everything that you can, then get another job with a higher salary, and then go on and go on. So I've been doing that for like 7 years, and during the years I've jumped around quite a lot of roles. First I started as a front-end engineer, and then I switched to back-end. And while I was doing of my full-time job, I always have some side projects where I practice on mobile development, database, DevOps, and everything in between. So just a little bit of hobby and a little bit of professional work combined together. So I was learning a lot during those 7 years.
That sounds very much like the journey that I had it myself. Right, I
Yeah.
started many years ago. Did some stuff here, some other stuff there. Always building side projects, always exploring the other things in the field. So, would you think that this is just looking at people who want to start indie hacking, who have they want to be like you, build really cool projects and then sell them, or build big MRR projects and monetize their lifestyle through that? Would you suggest they go and actually work in enterprise businesses first? Is that something you would like actively suggest?
Is it it depends. Um, so usually I would say that my 7 years of experience is one of my very big unfair advantage. So the way because of that I got advantages. So a lot of my products, like, I was able to build them very fast, very quickly, and get into the market very quickly. So if someone who is a very new indie hacker and jump into this game, they could use the same strategies as mine, which is working in the industry in the industry for long enough and gather on experience and use that as their unfair advantages. But they can also use other ways to acquire some unfair advantages on their own. Because I say that because I have seen a lot of other people who are not like working in the industry that long. Even for people who are from a completely different industry, jump into learning to code, and then they was able to build something while learning to code, and then the business went big. So definitely is not the only way to have some advantage, that you have to work for companies and other and other people, but it definitely a way, and that is what I was doing. And not necessarily had to copy the whole journey, but there's many other ways to approach this.
Yeah, I would agree. There's definitely no silver bullet in indie hacking. I guess in any kind of entrepreneurship, right? It's always a risk. It's always a risk to take, and the path there usually is a pretty wound path. It's never a straight line. I really like that. When did you? I think one of the first projects you built was DevUtils, right? That was
Yeah.
the one of the first things. That is for people who don't really know. It's a collection of software tools for devs that you sold kind of on a one-off basis, right? It's not a recurring subscription, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a one-off license that include 1 year of update. So in the next year, if they don't want to upgrade to the new version, they can still continue to use that for as long as they can, if they want. So it's the kind of the model that similar with some other popular softwares like JetBrains IDE, Sketch, if I remember correctly. So yeah, people can buy one time and use that forever, or they can just upgrade it when they need it. They don't have to renew it every year. So yeah, just one time purchase.
I'm asking these questions because in our circles, indie hackers, everybody's talking about MRR, right? Everybody's talking about
Right.
recurring revenue and subscriptions and stuff. And you started with something that was not, at least technically, a subscription business. I think the next one you built, like Blackmagic, was a subscription business, and then Snapper was a non-subscription business again, and now Typing Mind is a subscription business again. Like you're oscillating between these two. Is that always just a choice that you make about the particular product, like, or how do you deal with pricing these kind of products?
So usually the common sense I have is that if I don't have a recurring cost to maintain the software, to maintain the product, then I don't have to charge the customer a recurring cost, right? A recurring price. So for DevUtils, for Snapper, they are all software. If I don't update it, people can still use it normally, no problem at all. So I don't have a lot of cost in the server to maintain them. So I only charge them like one-time purchase. But for Blackmagic, everything is like data and database
Yeah,
and
Twitter
and
API, right?
Twitter API, right? Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
boy.
So a lot of maintenance costs, and also it's an online service, so I need to monitor the server and everything, so very closely every day. So a lot more cost associated with that. So that's why it makes sense for those type of businesses, those types of products. I will charge a subscription cost. So usually I don't really like subscription model when I buy stuff. So I don't want I don't want my customers to have that
Right.
feeling as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think mostly if you're selling as an indie hacker to other indie hackers, you kind of know what they feel, right? You get the sense of what do they like, what do they not like. I really appreciate this. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, because it shows, to me at least right now, how much you care about the people you're serving, right? The people that use your products, you don't want to charge them money if you don't need to. That is a really, really a very kind sentiment to have when you're building a business, and you're still making money. You're kind, but you're still making money. I just want to point this out, because so often people just charge because everybody tells them to, get MRR out of products, and then, products don't change because they just milk them for money. I appreciate, because I'm a customer of Snapper, and I'm not a DevUtils customer, but I am a Snapper customer, and I love the product. It's something I would probably pay you monthly if you asked me to, because I like you. But as a product itself, it was a super easy choice for me to just buy it. And I guess that is revenue for you, and it make it easy for people to purchase, right? I would like to talk to you a little bit about Blackmagic. That to me is one of the other tool of yours that I use. I think I use 2 of your 4 products. I'm a big fan of
Thank
you
you.
and your products. And Blackmagic, like I said earlier, has been an integral part in my professional Twitter life, and I think ever more has it been an integral part of your life, right? You recently sold the business to Hype Fury.
Yeah.
You posted about that on your newsletter. You sold it for, and I'm just going to throw a couple numbers in here, $128,000 overall in deal value to them. And there's obviously a big story to all of this, because you had acquisition offers in the past. I think what the first one was like 40,000, I guess, a year and a half ago, and the second one was 500,000, but with 100 upfront, and then the other kind of staggered over time. And now you sold for 128. Ups and downs, right? That's the indie hacker journey. And I would like to talk to you about this. Maybe for people who are completely oblivious to what's going on Twitter, can you explain to me why you had or felt you had to sell this browser extension based, really, really cool Twitter tool? What happened there? What was the process for you?
Yeah. Oh man. Blackmagic was like quite a journey for me from the beginning to the end. So I mean, if you are on Twitter, you know about the pricing change in the Twitter API when Elon Musk decided to get more revenue for their for the company. So a few months ago, when they announced that the Twitter API price will increase and there will be no more free plan, I was like very optimistic that the price will be somewhere like $100, $200 a month. I can definitely afford it, right? I at the time I was like at 14K MRR, $14,000 a month. Definitely, I can buy this, buy the subscription, buy the API. But then there was rumor going out. There was a few people contacting me in my so there was a private group of Twitter makers who originally founded by the Twitter community themselves, the Twitter community themselves, and they organized this. But when Elon took over, this group kind of nobody managed this group anymore. So a few people from this private group reached out to me and saying that there's a rumor the Twitter API will no longer be free, and not only that, it will cost you minimum 42K a month. 42K a month is not like 42K a year. It's $42,000 a month, and basically they are going to kill all the existing app anytime now. So when that person told me the information, they also tell me that I only have like 1 or 2 weeks before they decided to cut off the API access for every app, and he actually told me that the Twitter team tried to cut off all the app already, somewhere like last week already, but they couldn't do it because some technical issue, and that result in a Twitter outage. If
Wow.
I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah,
But at the
I
time,
do. Yeah.
the Twitter just went outage, and a rumor is that they tried to cut off access to the third-party apps, but accidentally cut off their own.
Oh boy.
So yeah, we have a little bit more time. So yeah, at the time, that was a shock. There's no way I would be still staying profitable with that cost in mind. So at the time, I was we're considering about a few options. Firstly, try is to completely sell. There's another option is to somehow try to use private API and all that shady stuff, but I don't really want to do that. I really hate to use a private API and an unofficial thing, because I'm trying to build a legitimate business, right? And the option is that from another Twitter community, some people have an idea of like maybe we can unite together and create a company. Then we buy the API access. Then we can share it between all the small apps, including Blackmagic, which is still considering small at the time, right? And so I considering between those three options, the private API I don't want to, the unite together and share the API key. It goes against the Twitter terms and condition, obviously. So Twitter doesn't want to do that. And later on in the story, I get to later, which show that Twitter really doesn't like it, and they are actually verifying if you are doing that with your API key. So and eventually I will the only option left is to sell. And at the time, I was looking for a few people to sell. One is the one who reached out to me, and I reached out to a few others, and I got two offers out of three potential buyers, and
Wow.
then Hyphery was one of them. I talked with Sammy. Sammy was also got the rumor somewhere together. So we kind of we I kind of know him before because I listened to his Indie Hackers podcast, and I know his story and I know about Hyphery and stuff. So we kind of get in touch with each other. We got into a deal, signed the letter of intent, and then we just moved really, really fast because there was only 1 week or 2 weeks to move everything. So imagine that if I don't move fast, and if the deal doesn't haven't closed yet, and Twitter cut off the assets, people start to leave, and customer become angry. The value of the business will be much less, and things will be much more difficult to sell if that happens. So we kind of both understand that, and we move very fast with the acquisition. Yeah, as soon as we signed the contract, Hyphery contacted Twitter to share about the news, so that Blackmagic is now belong to Hyphery, so that in the future, Twitter, if you are going to cut off the assets, just don't do that with Blackmagic. So yeah, we kind of facilitate that, and we managed to keep Blackmagic alive when they started to cut off access to all the apps, and yeah, at the time it caused a lot of problems. So yeah, that is the whole thing. So it went super fast. I didn't have enough time to look for as many buyers as I can, as I want to. I'm pretty sure that it will be possible to sell at a higher price that at the price I sold. But yeah, critical time, and also the first time I'm doing this, right? So
Right.
first time for me. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a common problem for indie hackers, particularly when there is a crisis like the one that you were in. Like, you have no experience dealing with like being acquired. Like, nobody does this before they do it for the first time. So everything is new. Everything is dangerous. You never know, right? Can you trust people? And is everything gonna explode? I remember the process when you were purchased or when you were acquired, and you had to do this migration too, right? From the authentication from inside Blackmagic to Hypefury.
Right.
You did that really well. I just want to tell you this. I think you did a good job at making it very accessible and very easy. But there was a lot of work to be done to migrate the business over, right? How much did you have to do to move the business into the Hypefury family of products?
We just mostly spend the time on transferring the assets, the ownership of the assets. So in terms of the business and the product itself, there's not much changing, like not at all. beside the ownership, So right now, still two separate business, separate customer base, and if you want to use both products, you still have to pay for both. So not a lot change since then. So most of the effort is spent on transferring the ownership. And we at the beginning, we only spend on transferring the absolutely necessary assets, like the domain and the payment stuff, so that we can move fast with the process. And then later on, we start to transfer other stuff. There's a long list of services where I need to transfer the ownership, the admin permission to the new owner. And also, a lot of services I use are from my personal account, so I have to spend a lot of time to split that out. So that is definitely a lesson there. If in case in the future, you build business, make sure to register everything under your business domain. It will make everything easier. But at the time, I know that earlier, but in order to save costs, I cannot afford to register a new Cloudflare account every time I open a business and new account everywhere. So there's some account that I still share with my personal account, and only when I'm confident that the business can live on their own, I will split account. But there was a lot of work, and we're still transferring everything now. I still haven't transferred the mobile apps yet, because quite a lot of requirements from Google and Apple to transfer those mobile apps. So still haven't done, but we we got everything working, and the customer experience no interruptions, which is the top priority, right?
Yeah, that's good to know that you're still working on it. And yeah, it's complicated. It's
Yeah,
even if these things were in your business's name, which is something that I regularly do suggest from the start, right? To separate your personal and your professional finances, logins, or whatever. But even if you had it like that, it would still take a long time with
sure.
these
Yeah,
walled garden systems like the Apple App Store and Google Play and that kind of stuff to just move things around. It
yeah.
sounds like you're still very actively working on this, and I think that's part of the deal, right? You're going to stick around with the product for a while. How is that structured? What are you going to do, and when are you going to move out of that?
Yeah, so the way it works is now that we have a new, I hire a new freelancers to work dedicated on the project. So previously, just me and my other freelancer who work with me on all of my projects, right? So, so I cannot afford to, let him go work with Hypery all the time because I have many projects for him to work with me. So we hire a new freelancer, and we transfer the we train her to work on the project, like understand everything about the technical part of the product, and I will be monitoring and you know uh, like providing assistance to the product in general. And I still code in for the product if I wanted to, but there's no obligation at all from the contract. So basically, I just for me to continue to work on Blackmagic for at least a year. So I will maintain and make sure the business is running and everything is working correctly. And then after that, whenever I want it, I can just move out. And we have a new person to take care of the business right now. And also have free onboard a team of customer support. So they're really a big team right now compared to what I learned from the last time I listened to the podcast. so,
Yeah.
so now they have grown into a pretty big team. So they have customer support to take care of the customers. Not I don't have to like closely monitor them anymore. That is a lot of free time for me. So yeah, I guess from now on, I will still continue to contribute my part as what features to develop next, and how to work with the system and train the freelancer to be able to fully manage the product. And then I guess at some point I will declare the end of my relationship with Twitter in in everything. Not my Twitter account, building products with Twitter. The whole thing about Twitter API change and Elon Musk really decreased the confidence I have in the platform in general. Especially the recent changes in the Twitter company overall and in the API team. So they, for example, in the dev forum, you see that they don't really have any one monitor there anymore. Maybe one or two people at a time. And I also heard that from people on Twitter that even though they have access to the enterprise accounts, they still don't have a lot of support from their from the Twitter team. So I guess it's really a mess out there, and I really have a like admire people who are still sticking with Twitter and their product on the products out there, like Typhoonly, Twitter Hunter, Hypery, obviously, and all the products was still sticking with Twitter. And yeah, I guess at some time I gonna look for something new. Yeah,
Yeah, you ran into platform risk, right? You really
yeah.
felt what platform dependency means and what the risk is of building on something that is super shaky. I do have one question, and this might be a painful question, but how did you feel when, like, a month after you sold, they introduced the $5,000 plan? Like, that would have been something you could potentially have afforded, right?
Initially I was like shit, if only they all announced it earlier.
Yeah.
But then after considering it seriously, I find that if they would announce it 5K, it would be a word of pain for me. To first of all try to squeeze down the application to fit into this plan. And also it's not like Twitter is the whole Twitter team and Twitter dev and Twitter API is working normally right now. There's still a lot of downtime, and there's absolutely no customer support from Twitter. Even though you are paying $5,000 a month, even 42K a month, you still have no support. So and all of that is it could feel like I will be spending more time doing useless things if I would try to fit Blackmagic into that 5K. So I guess in a way, mixed feeling. One way, on one hand, I could have a profitable business, right? 5K a month, I can pay for that, still have like 10K left for me to pay the cost, and then some for me to take home, right? But in the other hand, I will be like stuck with Twitter and don't have a lot of time to explore other stuff.
That's right.
Which
And
yeah,
yeah, and that's what you did, right? You left
Yeah.
that one platform and you went to the next platform. You went to OpenAI. And you built something there.
there's
So-
always platform risk everywhere, right? You cannot escape it.
but I do wonder, and let's talk about the thing that you're actually working on right now, right? Let's talk about your current project. You now have a project that made $30,000. Is
Yeah.
that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to be precise here, and this is obviously some good money, and I would like to talk to you about this because this is an AI project, right? It's built on top of the OpenAI ecosystem. How did you fall into that? Because you were in social media, you were building tools for, like, Snapper to me is technically a social media tool because it's, you know, about presenting screenshots in a really nice way
It
to
is,
be used
yeah.
on social media, and then Blackmagic obviously is a social media tool, and then you went to Typing Mind, and Typing Mind is something completely different. How did that happen, and what kind of business are you building around that?
Right. So Typing Mind, the original idea was that I was I was using the chat app from OpenAI, the default one, you know, the ChatGPT app. So there was a lot of things that I didn't like about it, about the app, and I wanted to do it. And originally, I wanted to build a Chrome extension to, you know, change how the way the application work on my browser. But then at the time, I didn't have time to do any of that. I just my idea. I just try to explore what this AI thing will be and what can I do with it. Can I build some business around this? And yeah, during the time I used ChatGPT a lot, and that's how I came up with you know, some pain point that I wanted to fix with my Chrome extension idea. But then at some point, ChatGPT did a very big move. They released an API. Wow, I was not expecting that. They released API for chat. At first I was like, okay, they have a chat app. There's no way they're gonna release API because otherwise, who's gonna use their chat app anymore? But they did. So that is something I really like about OpenAI. They really like developer focused, and all the later announcements since the time they announced the chat API till now, everything they do is like focused, and they put a good effort on maintaining the developer community and supporting them. So yeah, anyway, they announced the API, if I remember correctly, on the 1st of March, if I remember correctly. Yeah, few days later, I built a very first version of Typing Mind. I registered the domain name like 1 day after, and then 1 day after, I have a first version of Typing Mind,
Wow.
which is a very small, like, so the pain point I had with ChatGPT was that I was not able to create folders. That is the only thing. And the
Yeah.
second thing is I cannot search for my previous chats, you know,
Yeah.
like when quite obvious common sense things that people would
Mhm.
want to do when they have a long list of chats, but you cannot do that in ChatGPT. So I built one simple app that allows you to search the history. So I released the app, I shared it on my Twitter, and people liked it a lot. And one thing that I really liked about it is that you don't have to, like, you have to use your own API key, and whatever you use, you pay OpenAI to use your key. You don't
Yeah.
have to pay me for everything, for every chat that you made. So I saw that. So a lot of people on Twitter are excited about the app, and so I decided to put a price tag. I charge people like, if you want to use this, right now it's free because it's in beta. It's free. You can use it, but if you buy right now, you can buy it for $9, and then people just started to buy. And the first day, I think I made like $1,000 or something, and then the next day $2,000, next day $4,000, and then 8K, and then $10K,
Wow. Crazy.
$10,000, which is my pin tweet on my Twitter profile at the moment, which is celebrating 10 days $10,000 of revenue. And yeah, it really took off from there. And since that point until now, I just focus on talking to the people who are using it, talking to customers, adding new features, expanding it to other product lines where I offer some like hosted service. So yeah, that's how product took off.
So cool. That what a story too. Like surprised by your own success. That is like the indie hacker dream, right?
Yeah, at first I thought I was like, okay, I sell this for $9. Maybe I can make like $5,000, and then I can sell the whole thing on micro acquire for $10,000, and then I exit the game.
Yeah.
Who knows? Wow, I did not expect it to have that much customers. So that really took me by surprise.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that is surprising. Did you like actively launch it like in a big way, or was it just like sharing it as a building public project and people just took it up?
I initially I share on Twitter and I update everything on Twitter. But when I started to see initial traction, when I reached $10,000 of revenue, I prepare a launch on Product Hunt, and I basically use all my resources that I have all the years, on the last 2 years. I only started this 2 years ago. So yeah, I use all my resources to focus on that Product Hunt launch. And at the launch, I made like another $14,000, if I remember correctly, from the launch day itself. So there was an official launch of the product, which happened only a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks after the first version is released. So yeah, there was a launch.
You're quick. Your MVPs take 1 day to build and a week and a half to launch.
Yeah. I feel like I was living again the days where I built Snapper and I built Black Magic. I wake up every day, I code in the morning, and then in the afternoon I share it on Twitter and talk to people, and then repeat just coding every day, release. I deploy in production like 10 times, 20 times a day.
That's so cool.
Every day.
How much customer service do you get? Like customer service inquiries do you get on any given day?
Right now, I think every week we have like 10 or 12 customers emails.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's not too much. So you actually have the time to focus on coding. You're not consistently barraged with like question, right? Is there any way you deal with this? Any automation there?
There was a lot of customer support question as well, especially in the early days and in the launch days too. I use Lemon Squeezy, which is a new platform that I use. So that is something new as well in this project. So there was a few problems with the payments, and people contacted a lot. So I really had to spend a lot of time on email and answering people questions. Some people really don't understand how the app works, and they suppose you will need an API key to work to use the app. But some people don't understand what is an API key and what's that. But because they see the launch and they see the discount price, they wanted to get it, And in the end, I had to answer all those questions. But in the end, until now, I have someone to help with me on this already. So this is something also different compared to the previous products that I run. Right now, I don't run alone, or I don't run alone anymore. I have a team of one customer support. She's basically my business assistant. She helped me with everything: content, marketing, customer support, social media, everything, right? And I also still work with a freelancer that I have worked with over the last year. And yeah, it's bigger. It's more time for me to focus on deliver the features that I really like and I really want. So it's something different this time.
Yeah, it is different. You're not a solopreneur anymore, right? Like all of a sudden, you're a big business leader. That's who you are.
I still consider myself solopreneur because I don't really want to step into that management role. And it's still right now, the way I work with the freelancers is I don't spend a lot of time on managing. I really put a lot of trust in their work and focusing on making them independent like me. So no deadline, no meetings, and everything async. So yeah.
Do you have a lot of process? Like, do you have internal documentation for certain things, like how to deal with problems, how to communicate with customers?
No. So
okay.
Yeah. don't have anything. So everything we kind of talk. We jump on a call and I just explain what is this, what is that, and luckily the team was learning very fast and they kind of get what I'm doing, and I also like give them every resources that I have that I can to make them understand the big picture. For example, everyone on the team can answer to customer support requests, developer and my business assistant, right? They can access to customer support and they can talk to customer, understand what is the problem they have, and they can just sometimes the developer just fix the bug with the customer on the customer support portal without even me taking a look.
In an early stage business like the one that you're currently in, I mean, it's a couple months old, right? It's not that
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
This is the way to go. And I'm only asking about your process of documentation because you were talking earlier about Blackmagic and how you are still transferring things over, right? That would be easier if there was a, you know, good business manual, an operations manual, like a franchising document for a business. But that
Yeah.
takes some time to establish. So
That is something luxury to have.
yeah.
Luxury to have as a solopreneur business.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? For many solopreneurs, they never start doing this because they always want to be solopreneurs, and then they sell their business and they figure out, oh wow, I need this now. I need to train somebody to do all my jobs, and it's usually not that you need to train one person to do all your jobs. You need to train like 5 people: customer service, developer, and operations and marketing, right? All of these things that are in your head, you need to take them out and give them to other people. Which is why, and I don't want to turn this into a lecture about documentation, but as a German, I love documentation, so you have to forgive me about that. It's the sellability of a business becomes much more easy. You can sell it more easily if you have stuff figured out. And that's kind of why I'm asking, because you said something just a couple minutes ago about, oh yeah, at $5,000, I'm going to put it on Acquire and I'm going to sell it, right? And just to let you know, acquire.com is sponsoring this very episode of the podcast.
Oh,
so
wow.
they're probably interested in that, the rationale there too. Like you wanted to put it up maybe for a couple $1,000s, but now the business is actually taking off. Do you still maybe think about eventually selling it? Like what's going on in your mind about this?
For sure. Like every product that I own right now have a price. You can just give enough high enough price, I will sell. So I'm a developer and I'm a businessman. You know, everything have a price.
Yeah.
So at some point, I guess I will open for selling Type in Mind, which is the product. But at the moment, I am having a lot of fun with it. So it will cost a little bit more to overcome that barrier. I actually have someone contacted me and asked to buy the product.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I also told them the same thing. I'm having so much fun with this. It's gonna be expensive to take it away from me. And not for the product alone, but like you're taking the fun away from me. So, which is remind me of the same thing I said when someone tried to buy Blackmagic from me for 5,000K. I rejected. Then only a few months later, right?
Yeah, that's. I have I just read through the article again, like earlier today, that you wrote when you said, "Nah, I'm not selling," and it's like the same arguments are happening here. And obviously, it's a different situation, right? As you said, OpenAI, the company, is much more developer focused, and it's kind of, if I'm thinking about this, it's kind of what Twitter used to be for developers, where they had like a really nice ecosystem, and they didn't make it hard to build stuff. They free, everything was kind of free, everything was available. I mean, it was an enterprise plan, but you know, that's for big companies. For indie hackers, we could just use the API as we saw fit. I think OpenAI is still in that stage, and I hope that they're going to stay in that stage forever, but they might not, because you know, Microsoft and it's also a business essentially.
Yeah.
So
also the whole AI wave can just go down anytime.
That is the next problem, right? You're living in this kind of up and coming wave. And it makes me wonder, how are you dealing with platform risk now that you're again building at least on one of potentially many platforms right now? Are you considering building a more platform agnostic product that interacts with many? Like, how are you dealing with this so as to not make the same, I wouldn't call it mistake, because nobody knew that it was going to happen with Twitter, but to not run into the same problem again? What are you doing for that?
I thought about this at the very beginning of the product, Type in Mind. So I mentioned that in order to use TypeInMy, you have to provide your own API key, right? Which means right now TypeInMy, I run the product, but I don't have any API key at all. I don't need any because the customer, they're gonna bring their own. So OpenAI, they don't have anything from me. I don't have anything from them as well. Maybe I need the API to develop the app, to test it for whatever. But when the app is done, I don't need an API key to maintain the app. So they cannot ban me, right? Well,
Right.
it's not like they want to, or it's not like I am challenging them, but just in theory that I don't depend on OpenAI, my customer do. So so that is something that I thought at the beginning. I don't want to make another API, like API grabber around OpenAI and charge the customer a little bit more expensive than what OpenAI would have charged them.
Right.
So that would have been
Interesting.
a like what something, the term is the grabber business. That's a new term, grabber business, which you take the API from someone else. You take the API from OpenAI, and then you build something like very slightly on top of it, and then you charge more people. So at the beginning, I don't want to do that. It is not the app like that. I'm gonna ask the customers to provide the API by themselves. So that's how I was thinking about like navigating and escaping this platform risk in the future. And also right now, TypeInMy is not only about ChatGPT from OpenAI, right? I do support all the models as well. For example, you can use open source models like GPT-4o, Vicuna, Llama, and all the model, right? And also support Anthropic Cloud, which is the new model. And also the Google model, the Palm 2 model will be supported soon as well. So this is something like I consider this as, you know, the app where the Postman app where you use it to send HTTP request to some server you don't know and you everywhere.
Yes.
I consider this as a application, a chat application, the generic application that you can connect to any LLM model, AI assistant, and you can have a conversation with it with all the fancy features like search the history, add to folders, and all the fancy prompts and characters and stuff, right? So I consider it that way, so that it can stay a generic app and not depend on any of the platform. So
Cool.
I
That is really
I
cool.
hope that is enough to escape this
I,
the platform risk nightmare.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts here, because I see two layers of defense that you've built. That is really cool, because I only thought about the one. I thought about the second one that you were just talking about, like integrating other models, right? Because that's kind of what you want to do. If one of them dies, if OpenAI implodes, let's hope they won't, because the product is really cool. But if anything happens to any of the models, it's nice to still be to be able to support other models, right? It's like having a business that has a lot of different customers, and if one of them churns, well, you still have the others. And that's kind of what you do with the platforms you support. But the thing that really I find really smart is to not sit as a wrapper on top, but to be kind of like what you said with Postman, just a tool to connect different tools. And that brings me to another question, because I know Postman. I've been using that a lot. Actually, I think I've used Paw, the Mac client that does something similar, and I think there's also Nocturne or some other tool that is very similar to that. And that reminded me of, well, a lot of people probably think, okay, this is a cool tool, I'm going to build the exact same tool. Clones. Let's talk about that. You build in public a lot. You share all the things you build and all the ideas that you have. Are you a little bit afraid of people cloning your work? Or how do you deal with people that are just copycats in this very public world of indie hacking that you operate in very publicly too?
Yeah, there will be copycats everywhere. So every product that I have built, there's copycats. So
Yeah.
Tapina is not an exception. So I guess at this point, the best action to do with copycats is just to ignore them. So I do keep a list of like more than 10 or even 20 now of the copycats who are like ill-fated copycats. So there's a few way that people can inspire from your work, right? Some legitimate way that the people see what you're doing and they see that makes sense and they have their own way of doing it. But there are some people who are just like, for example, a few copycat that I saw Just copy the design, copy the copy. There's a few FAQ section that they copy the whole thing, the same question, same answer.
So
They
funny.
was they were very carefully replace the product name. Unlike the last time, the last time someone copied my debut deals app without even changing the name. So I I figured it out. So I do know about all of those, not all, but I do keep track of those at some point. And then but mostly I will ignore them on social media. And now I don't really even keep track of them anymore because there's way too much this wave of like chat UI, like AI chat UI, and also open source projects as well. There's just too many. It doesn't serve any purpose to keep track anymore. So right now I lose track. But this AI UI application type of product are everywhere now. So I guess the advantage here is that I just have a first mover advantage. I have a lot more features and it's more useful. Have a lot of users as well, and I guess that is I will keep that as an advantage to compete in this world. I guess. Yeah.
Would you consider your pretty sizable, almost six-figure Twitter presence to be one of those advantages as well? Like
For
a
sure,
moat?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, in the beginning when I shared that on my Twitter, it was the beginning of the product. If that tweet didn't blow up, if I didn't have like 70K or something followers, I don't think the product would have seen the day of light, the live day. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think for indie hackers like yourself, who's very publicly sharing stuff, much of the success, the initial success, not the overall success, but the initial interest in the product comes from having so many people that might be interested in it. Also, your capacity to launch on Product Hunt and knowing how to do it right. I mean, both Snapper to me, Blackmagic, and Typing Mind, they're all indie hacker / Product Hunt compatible products. Right? You could, they're good. They're good on Product Hunt because the people who go to Product Hunt will want to figure out what this is. Particularly with Snapper, I feel it was just beautiful. And I'm just going to tell you, you built an amazing product. Let me just serenade your product a little bit. I mean, it's really nice. It's super usable. It has features that other people never thought about, like redacting text or like that kind of stuff was always important to me, particularly as an indie hacker, because when I share a screenshot, I don't want to share my name or my login credentials, right? I want this to be redacted, that you auto-redacted.
Did you like the balance
right?
thing? Did you like the balance thing in the Snapper app?
Yeah. That's among other things. I think it's the fact that you have your gradient thing in there, the redaction, that the little arrows and that they have slightly different shapes. That's what I was saying earlier with good design. Like you have an understanding, not just for visual design, that is already great, but I think you have an understanding for experience design in your products. Right. And that is something that comes, I hope, from being exposed to good designers and doing front end work and understanding what an experience is. Right. And that's something that you can't really, that you have to learn. You can't just have that by random chance. You have to understand it and learn it. So, what I'm trying to say, yeah, you're awesome. Let me just say this. 2018, very awesome. What I'm trying to say is these products are particularly good for Product Hunt because people on Product Hunt value good interfaces, good design, and usable tools in their own journey. So what I'm also here kind of feeling with these products is that you build them mostly for an audience that you really understand well. That would be indie hackers and developers. Was it always a conscious choice to sell directly to indie hackers or to people in your own community?
Actually, I just built for myself. That is the first priority. I don't really spend a lot of time to targeting indie hackers and founders. I spend absolutely zero thought on that. So a lot of people see that all of my products like somehow feel like targeting indie hackers and founders, but I really don't intend to do that. It's just, I guess it's just like the Twitter circle that I am in have a lot of indie hackers and founders, so that it make it feel like the product are targeted
right.
on those. But
okay,
but
it's just coincidence.
in general, just built for me. I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh, I love
I
that.
guess, and somehow like it makes sense with other people, so they do it, and because I have a lot of Indiakers in my followers and my audience on Twitter, so it may feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That is an interesting perspective, because I would have just as well accepted, yes, this is all intentional. Would have been an acceptable answer too. But you're just saying you're building stuff for yourself, and the people around you are like you. It's not surprising
Yeah.
that we are in
Yep.
communities that are like us and that they like it. Okay, cool. What you have like 4 products now. You're probably working on more, and I would love to know where this is going. But before we get to the future, let's maybe talk about the reality of running multiple products at the same time, right? You have DevUtils and you have Snapper. I don't know how much work goes into this. It's probably not massive, but there is work to be done. There's always maintenance and stuff. And Blackmagic needs to be not only like maintained, it needs to be transitioned, and you need to train people. And then with TypingMind, you're now also training people and you're building new features. How do you balance all of this? Like, this feels like a lot of work for one person plus a couple of people helping.
Right. So as you can see, all of my products, not a lot of them are like recurring revenue, right? So they are mostly software. So Snapper, DevUtils are on software, low maintenance. I don't really have a server except for like license key checking server, like, right? So very small maintenance effort for me. And from time to time, I just come back to add new features and push our new updates. And that's it. That is actually it. There's not a lot else going on. I don't even receive a lot of customer emails anymore for those products. So low maintenance, and for TypingMind, which is the current active product, so that's why I spend like 80% of my time these days on TypingMind. So because that's my primary product right now, right? And for Blackmagic, it is quite demanding when it was active, when I was actively working on that, because it's subscription product, and a lot of customers use it every day, and they send me requests, feedback, bug reports. So I think at the time I was still running Blackmagic. I spent more of the time on Blackmagic because it was a very demanding business, and the other software, not a much maintenance needed. So even though I have multiple products, but I only focus mainly one at a time. See, so so I don't feel like it that difficult as you would imagine. Uh, let's say if I have multiple like recurring revenue businesses right now, it could be very difficult for me for sure. I I would think I cannot be like sustainably run 2 businesses at the same time. But for a software business, it's just like you have an app on the app store and it just keep making you money.
Nice.
You can
Yeah.
come back and release an update whenever you want. But other than that, there's not much else going on.
Sounds like mostly passive income, mostly, but still kind
Mostly.
of, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's so
Speaking of
cool.
which, I haven't pushed out a new update for Snapper for quite a while, so
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Yeah, okay, good. I have a couple ideas. No, but
Right.
no pressure. It's a tool. It's definitely good enough for
Yeah.
what I need, right? And there's always room to improve, but you don't have the same. I think the same pressure to add features with
For
a
sure.
product
Yes.
that doesn't have this recurring cost and recurring revenue attached. Cool. So couple of standalone software products. On the way out, Blackmagic, going to somebody else, still kind of working on that, and putting all of your efforts on TypingMind. Where is this going? What are your goals as an indie hacker? Like, do you have like long-term goals for this? Do you have short-term goals? What's the future holding for you?
I don't really have a long-term goal or a long-term plan. I'm really bad at planning. I guess I just got to, one thing I wanted to do in the far future is to make a lot of money.
Okay, this is a good goal.
And at some point where I can just buy any house that I want. That is the level that I want to reach. Previously, it was like 5K a month, which is when I was first started my indie journey. I want to make 5K a month, and at that point, I will be independent, and I don't have to go to work for any company anymore. And I will, with that kind of money, I can live anywhere in Vietnam, or at least in sea, not in the US, But
yeah.
But right now that I have achieved that and have lived that life for more than a year now, I think there's still quite few things that I cannot do yet
Right.
compared to Peter levels and
Yeah.
the so I understand that there could be a very deadly trap that you can
Yeah.
just keep going forward. So I told myself that yes, I want to make a lot of money right now, to the point where I can just buy any house that I want without looking closely at the price. But I would do that in a very peaceful pace and enjoy life at the same time. So every day, this day I only work like 4 hours a day, and whenever I want it, I just take a day off. And I purposely make all of my business so that I don't really have any contract, any deadline, and because of that, I also don't really give any deadline to my employees and my freelancers. So trying to achieve that goal without sacrificing life and
Mhm.
family, so
That feels like a much more relatable goal than making infinite amounts of money, right? Because
yes,
living the life
there's always
that you
something
enjoy.
else to look up. So
Right, and
yeah,
that's the hedonic adaptation problem, right? The treadmill where you just keep running, running, running. I think it's smart for you to recognize it already that is a problem potentially, but it's also a good goal. I mean, if you want to live the life that you dream of, then having that dream, there's no problem with that. I think it's a really nice transition from where you are right now to where you might go. I think
yeah,
living the day as you want to being able to take days off, that is one thing that I had after I had my exit for the very first time in my life. Having a choice over my own time, that makes such a difference in the quality of life. So I'm glad that you're at this point already. I'm glad you know what, I'm glad you're seeing success in all these different varieties. Like you got your $500,000 offer, didn't take it, and then you got another offer and you did take it. I mean, that's still an offer, that's still an acquisition.
yep,
Right? It may not
yeah,
be the perfect thing, but we never get the perfect thing anyway. So
yep.
it's I think it's
Okay,
right. It's great that you did it, and it's great that you share it. So thank you so much for sharing all of these things here with me today, and obviously all day, every day on Twitter. If people want to find out more about you and follow you on your journey to being able to buy whatever house you want, where do you want them to go? What do you want them to check out?
the easiest way right now is to go to tonydin.com, which is my name.com. From there, you can see my Twitter. Or if you want to hear my horrible username on Twitter, it is TDINH_ME.
That's a good
Tidin
one.
underscore me. So yeah, I guess it will be easier to go to tonydin.com and see all my links over there. I do have a newsletter on my website where I share all these stories, including the acquisition story, with a lot more details and numbers in there compared to what I share here on the podcast. So yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much. I recommend following you on Twitter. Obviously, I think most people that are in the indie hacker space should already follow you if the 90,000 followers is any indication. But still, that is a Twitter account worth following. And the newsletter, I'm subscribed to it too. I think you're so good for sharing all of the numbers and all the details that just makes it more real and gives people both things to look up to and to compare themselves to and to aspire to and to see like the ups and downs of a journey. Highly recommend that newsletter. Tony, thank you so much for being on the show today and talking to me about all these things, your long journey and your many products. That was really, really insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And that's it for today. Remember when Tony almost sold his business in the beginning? Well, this is where our sponsor comes in. Tony even mentioned Acquire.com by name. That's how established they already are in the indie hacker world. And the scenario where Tony almost sold his business is all too common. Imagine this. You're a founder who's built this solid SaaS product. You've acquired customers, you're making money, consistent monthly recurring revenue. The problem is that you're just not growing for whatever reason. Maybe it's lack of focus, lack of skill, or just plain lack of interest, and you feel stuck. What should you do? Well, the story that I would like to hear is that you buckled down and somehow reignited your fire. You got past yourself and the cliches, and you started working on your business rather than just in the business. You started building this audience and you move out of your comfort zone and do sales and marketing, and in 6 months, you've tripled your revenue. Well, reality is not that simple. Situations are different for every founder who's facing this particular crossroad. And too many times, the story ends up being one of inaction and stagnation until the business becomes less valuable or worse, worthless. And if you find yourself here, or you think your story is likely headed down a similar road, I can offer you a third option. Consider selling your business on acquire.com at any stage. Capitalizing on the value of your time is a smart move. Acquire.com is free to list, and they've helped hundreds of founders already. Go to try.acquire.com/Arvid and see for yourself if this is the right option for you. And thank you for listening to the Bootstrap Founder today. You can find me on Twitter at ArvidKahl, ARVIDKAHL. You'll find my books and my Twitter course there as well. If you want to support me and the show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, get the podcast in your player of choice, and leave a rating and a review by going to ratethispodcast.com/founder. Any of this will really, really help the show. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.